What happens when ordinary people are given extraordinary power? Can the roles we play change who we are? Imagine waking up in a world where the people you trust have turned against you, all because they were told to. Would you follow orders, or would you fight back? In 1971, one experiment sought to answer these questions, and the results shocked the world. Dr. Philip Zimbardo, a renowned psychologist at Stanford University, was fascinated by the complexities of human behavior. His research often delved into the darker sides of human nature. What drives good people to do bad things? In 1971, he embarked on an ambitious and controversial project, the Stanford Prison Experiment. Zimbardo wanted to explore how societal roles influence actions. What happens when you strip people of their individuality and assign them to rigid roles of power and submission? With a basement in Stanford University transformed into a mock prison, Zimbardo set the stage for a psychological drama that no one could have anticipated. At one end of the hall was a small opening through which the team could videotape and record the events that unfolded. Opposite the cells, a small closet was designated as the hole, a space for solitary confinement. At Stanford University, Dr. Philip Zimbardo selected 24 college students for a groundbreaking psychological study. The goal? To simulate a prison environment and observe human behavior. Recruitment. The experiment began with a simple advertisement. Dr. Zimbardo and his team posted flyers around the Stanford campus, offering $15 a day for participants to join a 2-week study on prison life. The response was overwhelming. Narrator: applicants were carefully screened. Only those deemed physically and mentally healthy, with no criminal backgrounds, were selected. 24 participants, all young college men, were chosen. They represented a diverse mix of personalities, from outgoing leaders to quiet thinkers. These 24 individuals were then randomly assigned to roles, 12 as guards and 12 as prisoners by toss of coin. Blindfolded and still in a state of mild shock from their surprise arrest by city police, the prisoners were transported to what was called the Stanford County Jail for processing. One by one, the prisoners were brought into the jail and greeted by the warden. The warden explained the seriousness of their crimes and their new status as prisoners. He made sure they understood the strict rules they now had to follow. Each prisoner was searched and stripped naked upon arrival. They were then sprayed with a delousing agent to make them feel like they might carry germs or lice. This dehumanizing process set the tone for their harsh new reality inside the prison. Guards were instructed to maintain order, but there were no strict guidelines. Prisoners were told to follow the rules. It was just an experiment after all. Or so they thought. By the second day, something changed. The guards started making up random rules and handing out punishments. Prisoners were forced to do push-ups, hold uncomfortable positions for long periods, and even clean toilets with their bare hands. What had started as a simple experiment quickly turned into something much darker. The prisoners' mental states began to deteriorate. Some cried uncontrollably, others rebelled, only to face harsher punishments. On the second day, one of the prisoners, number 8612, began to break down after enduring verbal abuse and relentless punishments from the guards. He erupted in anger, shouting that he couldn't take it anymore. He claimed he was losing his mind and demanded to be let out of the experiment. The guards, unsure of how to handle the situation, brought prisoner number 8612's behavior to Zimbardo's attention. Instead of releasing him immediately, Zimbardo, deep in his role as the prison superintendent, suggested that number 8612 stay and act as an informant. But prisoner number 8612's condition only worsened. His protest grew louder and more desperate, disrupting the entire mock prison. Finally, after his mental state reached a breaking point, Zimbardo agreed to release him. Another key moment involved prisoner number 819. After being put in the hole, a small dark closet for solitary confinement, he broke down and started crying uncontrollably. When he begged to leave, Zimbardo tried to convince him to stay, saying it was his responsibility to the other prisoners. The turning point for number 819 came when he heard the other prisoners chanting that he was a bad prisoner.
819 did a bad thing. Prisoner 819 did a bad thing.
A tactic used by the guards to break his spirit. This devastated him, and he begged even more desperately to leave. Zimbardo eventually allowed him to go, realizing how deeply the experiment was harming the participants. On the 6th day, Christina Maslach, a graduate student, visited the prison. She was horrified by what she saw. Her confrontation with Zimbardo was the wake-up call he needed. The Stanford prison experiment ended after just 6 days, but it revealed how easily people can lose their sense of morality under the influence of authority and roles. This experiment reminds us of the thin line between good and evil. Subscribe to Hidden Truths for more thought-provoking stories.